It's the Tuesday Live Show. My name is Jeff St Laurent, and I am always super excited to be here because I help coaches transition to a full-time business. And I do that through helping you structure your business and getting you real clear about who you want to help with what specifically, and then creating a plan for you to move forward. And that's going to lead me into the topic for today's show, and that is a successful versus a flawed business model. And I'm not here to talk about and judge models in terms of whether they're good or bad or not, but I'm going to talk to you about some of the fundamentals and the philosophies that's out there and to help you better evaluate a business model to help you move forward with your business, because you need a structure. And we're going to talk about that today. Before we get going, I do record all of these live shows and I put them on my university on my website, sellingcoaching.com. Right under the university, I have a great plethora, I love that word, a lot of information to help you get started on this, to get you started with everything right on the homepage of sellingcoaching.com. I've got a great resource where I would urge you to start off with, and that is launching your full-time business, the first 3 vital steps. So if you enter your name and email address, that's going to give you instant access. That's an audio training course that you can have instant access to. It's also going to put you into my email community, which is not only great so you can get some great information on a weekly basis, but you can also pay attention to how I communicate with my audience, which is one of the most vital things that we do in our business through email. With that being said, let's talk about this in terms of successful versus flawed business models, because the marketing out there today, meaning mostly online, and as a coach, I'm sure you are plugged in with a billion different other coaches and mentors and groups and social media platforms, right? Of all these, let's say, gurus, right? That are helping coaches grow their business and do all marketing and all this good stuff, just like myself, right? And I'm including myself in that, right? Because that's what I'm doing. I'm marketing to coaches. So with all of that, there's a lot of marketing around quick and easy. It's quick and easy, and it's fast results, and 6 figures in 6 weeks or 6 days or whatever it is. It's just like getting, flat abs and a flat stomach in a few weeks, right? And so there's the quick and easy model. And why is everyone marketing to quick and easy? Because quick and easy sells. But what is quick and easy is actually failing, because failure can happen pretty quickly, and it's real easy to fail, right? It's real easy to quit. It's real easy to not do anything. It's real easy to even do something and not get anywhere with it, right? So it's quick and it's easy, right? So with that being said, when I tend to market and when I do all of my marketing, it's, as you know, it's all education-based marketing. Education-based marketing in the sense that I'm teaching methods, I'm teaching specifics on what we're doing. And so one of the things that I want you to start looking at that's going to help you identify a flawed versus successful business model is any hype that they're teaching around that. So what I've found is typically people like yourself, like myself, anyone that's a guru that's putting themselves out there, what I found is that most people will do something. Let's not say what it is in particular, right? It's a method. It's a way of doing something. And they create great success with it. And let's not even judge what the success is, but typically it's some type of monetary success. And the monetary success is typically in excess of what most people would consider like average results. You don't see someone marketing and it's like, oh my God, I made $2,000 in, 2 months. Because people are going to be like, so what? Right? Most people will be like, so what? That might not be bad for some people either, right? But they might be like, all right, so what? If I made $2,000 in a day, or if I made $2,000 in a few minutes, so see all of a sudden that, well, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? Right? So people typically create a large monetary success in a short amount of time, right? So big results, quick, and that's what happens. So, and what they're doing is they did something in order to do that. And they begin to teach that process, right? And you can say, okay, well, that's how success works. If I did something well, I lost a bunch of weight, or I was in a horrible relationship and now we've worked it out. It's a great one, right? Like I've done something, I've created some level of success, and now I'm going to teach that method, right? And I'm not talking about some of the things that coaches will teach in terms of, oh, I worked through getting through a divorce, or I worked through going through abusive relationships and now I'm in healthy relationships, or, finding job success after I've gone through hell, etc. Like not that. I'm talking about how to create income. That's what I'm talking about from a business model, not like a life model, relationship model, a health or diet model, exercise model. I am talking creating monetary gains in terms of a business, right? So they do this and now they teach their method, right? The challenge that you want to look out for in terms of whatever someone's teaching, and again, I'm not judging anyone's method, right, is you want to look how duplicatable is that method. What I find is a lot of the time is that a lot of people's method in terms of how they achieved that, let's just say, large monetary success in a short amount of time, it doesn't mean you can't duplicate the steps, meaning I did steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that you can explain the steps. But how duplicatable is it? Meaning if I do those steps and I do those steps like exactly like you tell me to, how duplicatable is, how guaranteed am I in order to create those same types of results? And the majority of the time, it's not, right? The majority of the time, it's not. Like there's a lot of other factors that play a role in whether you're going to create that success or not. Now, with that being said, it doesn't matter whether it's my business model, what I teach, or anyone else's for that matter. There's no guarantee. Like I can also tell you certain steps to do, and there's no guarantee that you're going to achieve success, right? There's a lot of other elements that go into any business model. So we're not judging it to that level of degree. What we're saying is that a lot of the times what they're teaching is it's not very duplicatable, meaning it's just like there are certain elements, times in the market, the economy, right? The where they've come from in terms of their development, their presentation skills, how they present themselves, how likable someone is or not, right? There's a lot of those X factors as well that go into it. What types of database did they start with? Who did they partner with? How did they get that out there? How did they get their message out there? How many other people were behind that marketing as well, right? There's a lot of other elements that, like, if you really looked at it and understood it from that perspective, it's like, oh, well, I don't have any of that stuff. I know some of those programs, some programs that are out there, some programs that are very costly. We're talking multiple five-figure investments, for some 8-week programs, even some shorter than that. They're having coaches do things that they're not ready for, in sense that, when I start off at a very fundamental level and I ask a coach, who are you helping with what specifically, the vast majority, if not everybody, doesn't know that. And we help them find that, or I help them find that. One of the first things I'll have someone do is write a free resource for their website or for an online platform. They don't have a website. If they're creating it, write a free resource around, their first educational type piece. And one of the main reasons why I do that as an example isn't just because, well, we want to have lead capture. If we're going to have a website, we want to have some way for them to, benefit from our education, but also become a part of our email community. Just like I recommended to you is, hey, go to sellingcoaching.com and check out right on the homepage one of my great resources, enter your name and email for that free resource. The first 3 vital steps to launching your full-time coaching business, right? That's a viable way of helping people, giving them some great information and then getting in a way where we can communicate with them. But even bigger than having that lead capture, one of the things why I recommend that in the beginning is because I want to see how they begin to articulate their message. I want to start to see where they go with that, how easy or challenging it is for them, how clear or not their thoughts flow in terms of where they want to start going, what direction, what stance are they taking in terms of how they're helping them with these people and where they go with it. And so, and what, in other words, what I'm finding is a lot of people have massive challenges with that. And that's, in other words, that's one of their biggest challenges right up front is like, oh my God, and they freak out about it. And rightly so. I did too when I started off with everything, right? But the thing about it is a lot of some of the models that I see other people teaching is they're having these coaches, they're designing online presentations and webinars they're designing ads like Facebook ads and stuff like that. And it's like, they're creating videos but not videos that just like I'll have people do like a weekly video that it's like, all right, so you do a 30-second, you do a 3-minute video. All right, so what? No one's probably going to watch it, and it's probably going to feel like it sucks, and it might even suck. It's okay, because no one's probably going to watch it right now. Move on to the next one. Move on to the next one. In other words, it can feel like there's a lot of pressure, but I don't want to put a lot of pressure on it because you're going to do another one. You're going to do another one. Then 52 weeks later, you're going to have 52 of them, and guess what? It's going to be a whole lot better. But now that they're having to do these big presentations, their final like version recorded things, and it's like they can't even write a 2-page free resource, right? So sometimes it's too much too soon, and everyone's gonna have their process. Not to say that anyone can't go through what I'm having someone go through and feel pressured and not have it work for them, right? Of course, people can feel that way. Everyone's at different levels. But what I'm saying here is let's start to look at in terms of what someone can actually achieve when they're starting off and what they can start to communicate in terms of their message. Because that's gonna be a big piece to this all, is how we communicate our message. Because there's 2 elements to any business, and this is what I want you to start to look at when you start looking at different ways of structuring your business, right? Because I realize mine's not the only one that's out there, right? So whether you're considering working with me or doing, or even just going to my university and listening to some of my stuff, or someone else's for that matter, I want you to start to evaluate some of these things. I want you to start to evaluate, how can I start to communicate my message? There's 2 elements of the business, right? There's the message that I'm communicating, and then my ability to get in front of lots of people, right? So when I communicate my message clearly and concisely and articulately, if that's a word, right? And I can do that on a regular basis in front of people, and even if it's 2 or 3 people at a time, ideally it's a lot more than that, but if I can put you in front of people each and every day, each and every week on a consistent basis, no matter how big or small the audience, and I can communicate a clearly articulate message, you're going to get clients. You're going to grow your audience. And once you learn how to have those conversations afterwards, which is what I teach when I'm mentoring clients, then you're going to convert and you're going to have business, right? And then as you have an audience down the road, you can choose other ways to monetize it, right? There's lots of ways to monetize your business, right? In the beginning, I always suggest just do coaching. Like just start with coaching, with your one-on-one coaching. Because if you can monetize with coaching, then you can do group stuff. Then you can do, because you'll have audiences. Then you can do a program. You can do a 6-week program. You can record it. You can write a book. You can have other courses, or whether they're downloadable, virtual, or tangible products that you sell, like at a book, like at an event or something like that, right? But let's start off with just getting you to feel comfortable with your message, right? So that's one piece to it, right? So we've got to look at those elements of it. We've got to start to look at the business model in terms of like how duplicatable is it? Even if they have a method for you, we've got to look at some of those elements. What are some of the elements that it doesn't matter how closely I follow these steps, right? And like how easy is it? And I hate to even use that word, but how realistic is it? Maybe is a better way to say it. How realistic is it that I can create results from that? And of course, we never know that, but you've got to be able to commit to that on a regular basis. And based on that direction that I'm going in, based on where I'm at, can I follow those steps? Can I follow those steps in that framework or that time frame that this person's expecting me to? Like I have some people that I work with, one-on-one, we can find your own pace. Sometimes when I do groups with people are all different levels. Sometimes we were moving along with a group and there are some people in the group that can't keep up with it, or it's too much pressure for them. And that's okay. Like sometimes that is, and we've got to work with that person. We got to figure that out. But sometimes no matter what the program is it's hard for people to keep up with what the pace of something is. So that's something that you want to consider as well. One of the things let me share the method that I tend to gravitate towards and what I would want you to look for with whatever model you're moving forward with. All right, and this is why I do what I do in terms of teach. What I tend to teach is fundamental philosophies, fundamental elements of your business that no matter what you do in terms of an output, you're gonna need to do no matter what. So in other words, let's look at it this way. When I'm working with people starting off, one of the things I'll have them look at is they're helping who with what specifically their niche, right? So no matter what you do, you're going to need to know that. And maybe you get to that point where you're doing it and you're like, oh, I'm so wrapped around it and we just can't figure it out, right? And typically when I work with people, like we figure out pretty quickly. But if you're on your own, right, and you can't quite figure it out, like, okay, maybe you need to pull back a little bit. Maybe you just forget about that and just start moving forward even generally, and your message will you'll be able to decipher it to learn it from there. But no matter where you're going, you're going to have to figure out, am I going to get specific or am I just going to kind of roll with what I've got to begin with, right? So that's a fundamental thing that you need to have, right? One of the other fundamental things that I do with everybody is I get them set up with, if they're going to have a web presence, you don't have to have a website necessarily, but it's good to have one at some point once you figure that out. But what I'd say is that more importantly is that if you have a web presence, you're going to have some type of lead capture. And it doesn't matter who you are. Like if you're going to have a business, you're going to have lead capture, because ultimately if people like what you do, guess what? You're going to want to be able to get a hold of them on a regular basis on demand and communicate with them on a regular basis. That's why having an email list, in other words, an email community, like I say, is vital, because no matter what our social media platform is like or our following is like, it doesn't mean that you don't want people to follow you on social media, but you want to make sure you get them on their on your email list, right? That's the ultimate place, because social media can change at any time. You have no control over that, but you have control of your email list. Yes, people can unsubscribe. That's okay. That's up to them. But if they want to be there, they're there, and you can communicate with them as well. And this business is all about communicating with them. Once we get in front of them initially, we got to stay in front of them on a regular basis. That nurtures, builds the relationship and rapport over time. So when the timing's ready and they want to do something, or hopefully they want to do something with you, they're ready to go. That's the element of selling, right? So we need to have that email community, right? So no matter what, we need that element in our business. How you end up using that, there's different ways and different, ways of using that. But at the end of the day, like I have people, you got to email people on a weekly basis, just once a week at least. Yes, you could do more as your list grows, et cetera. But you need to be in front of the top of mind. Maybe you're not ready for once a week. Okay, well, maybe do every other week. If you want to do less than that, okay. But just do it every week, because you need to be in front of them. We need to start building those habits, right? Those are some fundamental things, right? That's something you can start to doing that you need to do no matter what, right? And then some in terms of the marketing philosophies, right? Like I might have a specific output in the way I teach that. Other people might have specific outputs in the way they teach in terms of a business model. But at the end of the day, the underlying element that I want to get across, which what I teach with mine is that you need consistency. Stuff needs to happen on a weekly basis, right? And maybe you're like, okay, I'm not ready for that yet. Okay, that's fine. Like I said, so do every other week. Do once a month to begin with, right? If that's where you need to start, then that's where you need to start. But if I'm pushing you, start every week and keep it short. It doesn't have to be long, right? I'm doing a 25-minute, 30-minute call, whatever. I've done longer ones, right? But at the end of the day, be consistent. That's the biggest thing, is just be consistent with it all. Find out what consistency means to you, and then keep that consistency. If you don't have that consistency, you're going to fall off. I've been doing this full-time for 15 years. And even early on, my mentor pushed me, and it was uncomfortable for me in the beginning too. It's just like, he pushed me for that consistency of being in front of my audience, being in front of them via email and other avenues as well. So have that consistency. It's vital to your long-term success, right? So there are some fundamental philosophies that I like to teach, and also understanding the why we do those things, not just doing them to doing them. So you can have all these ninja hacks and these special ways of doing things, and here's a certain technique of doing it, but always look to the underlying elements of why we're doing them, right? And don't get caught up in the actual specific technique of it all. Like for instance, I like to have people do a weekly live event. It doesn't have to be a Facebook live broadcast like this type of thing. Like I do live broadcast. It could be a live broadcast on YouTube. It could be on Instagram. It could be anywhere for that matter. It could be a podcast. That's not really a live show, but it's a way of doing something every week, right? It could be interviewing someone live like this on a podcast. It could be doing a live phone call. It could be doing something even recorded, like a video broadcast or a recording and putting it out, right? It could be if you don't, I don't want to do any of that stuff. Maybe it's a weekly article that you write or publish, something like that. But it's some type of communication that we're doing on a weekly basis. It's the fundamentals of that. And what I want to stress is it's not even so much the fundamentals of marketing and getting your message out there. In the beginning, it's the fundamentals of you developing what the heck you're talking about. Because see, there's a naturally conflict with coaches, is that we're taught, if you were taught through a coaching school, typically coaching is like, well, we're not the expert in anything. We're the expert in the coaching process. Or said differently, we're not the expert in anything other than the coaching process, right? Is helping people from where they are now get clear and move forward to where they want to go, being objective, asking questions, listening objectively, right? And they're the expert in terms of what they want to do. But at the end of the day, when we help people and why we're helping people is something to do with what we've gone through. We want to help people through that, right? So talking about our experiences, talking about sharing stories, talking about ideas, philosophies, strategies, or whatever that is that you've gone through, sharing some personal components where it's appropriate. Like that's how we start to share when you get it in an event and you start to share some things that you've gone through. You tie that through maybe some of the strategies or things that you've done to move through that stuff. That's where people start to connect with you. And that's where getting a little bit more personal in those arenas can really help people connect with you because you're a real live person. You're not just a coach who has it all together and everything is perfect in my world. No, it's not like that at all. That's not what sells. What sells is you being vulnerable and you being open and you being real. And even though you've gone through or still going through some of that stuff, you're leading the way, you're paving the way, you're getting on stage, you're being that voice. And that gives you that credibility. And then when they connect with that, now you're on the other end saying, hey, guess what? I can help you through some of this stuff. It's this thing called coaching. They don't care about coaching. They just care about, wow, they respect you for what you've gone through. So look for some of those fundamental philosophies in terms of why we're doing things. Then we get to that interaction, right? There's a million different ways of generating leads, right? And there's free ways, there's paid ways, right? I have different ways of doing it. And with things that I teach, I tend to start teaching very fundamental free ways of doing it. And there's people doing webinars and Facebook ads and stuff like that. And I don't recommend that in the beginning for a reason, is because most people aren't dialed in enough, never mind to wrap their heads around the technology, the cost of the technology and getting everything else set up and paying the people and or just even the cost of doing it themselves, right? And then not even having a strong lead capture. You can't even have a lead capture on their website, never mind do paid Facebook ads to a landing page that leads to a back end to an upsell. Like, really? It doesn't mean you can't do that, but I'm starting people off with some fundamentals, getting them used to talking about their message, getting them more articulate, getting them more clear about it, getting them in front of an audience for the first time speaking virtually and or live so they can feel comfortable, and then teaching them how to have those conversations to convert those leads into clients. Because when you start to learn how to do that through a live speaking engagement, maybe through an interaction after a live event like this, when you start to understand the selling aspect, the thing that I teach, right, the thing I love to get to the most, when you start to understand that, then when it comes time to doing maybe more advanced things, doing paid ads, doing things like that, that some other people will teach kind of right out of the get-go, you'll have the experience and you start to know how to do that. And you can do that better because not only can you articulate your message better and you could put together more of a strong presentation with the confidence behind it, but now on the back end follow-up conversations, we start to understand how to navigate those. And I'm telling you, once you understand how to navigate those back end conversations, where you feel confident about it, you have a complete command over the conversation and the flow of it. Meanwhile, that client doesn't feel pressured, that potential client doesn't feel pressured. They feel comfortable about that process. They feel connected to you. They feel like they know you. They feel like they trust you. And you can move that person through a process where we qualify them, offer them a complimentary session, and then close them at the end. And we know how to do that and feel comfortable with it. And we can repeat that on a frequent basis. Doesn't mean everyone will hire you that goes through that process, but you know when people are hiring you and you know when people don't, you know why and you understand why versus they just give you, I need to think about it, and then they drop off the face of the earth and join witness protection, right? Or they give you, oh, I don't have the money, or let me talk to my dog about this, and then you just lose them. And you're clueless as to why that happens, right? When you work that process out, that qualifying process, and you understand that, now you've spent some time, probably a couple of years doing that. You've earned some money. Maybe it's good money. Maybe it's just a little bit of money. But now what happens is you've understood the process. You've understood your message. You've grown an audience a little bit. You've spoken in front of people live and virtually. You've got, a good 2 years worth of content like this, emails under your belt, right? You've got some confidence on your side. Now you're more like you've been training, like you're an athlete, you're stronger, you're smarter, you're quicker, you're more agile, right? You're ready to be pushed at different levels. Now you can start looking into some different avenues to go down. We've got to train you first. And that's where I want you to start evaluating some of those components what is the successful versus a flawed business model in terms of how you're moving forward, right? And not to judge mine or anybody else's for that matter, but start looking at some of those fundamentals. That's why when I market and when I talk about some of the things that I do is I always talk about those fundamentals and the basics of it. And nothing's ever quick. Nothing's ever, fast, quick, or easy. Like it's long and hard. And it doesn't mean it's painfully hard and it's just painful and this sucks. Like it doesn't have to be like that. But you're going to be pushing yourself and you're going to be working. Like you've got to put in the time, right? And like I've worked my ass off to be here. You need to work your ass off and you have to have consistency. Anyone that's made it has worked their ass off and pushed it hard. There are a few people that are the anomaly that, maybe they try one thing for the first time and all of a sudden it blows up. But another thing I'll close with to say you got to look at is that how long are they doing that for? There's lots of different methods you can use and it can work short term, right? But can that method or what you're doing, can you do that repeatedly and get better and better at it? And can you be using that for the next 15, 20 years? Like that's what my message is that's why I'm so passionate about my messages. This is my 15th year in business as a full-time coach where I'm providing a full-time income, more than enough for myself and my family. And this is my primary source of income, my only source of income, right? And what I create from this business. Can you do that over time and create that long-term sustainable effects, right? There's other things I've done along the way. I've done this and I've earned some income. I've done a course and I've done some income. Or I've done a webinar and I've had a back-end sales and I've done some income. Or I've done events and I've, sold a special product or done a special thing and I've done, create some income, right? And all really great income and small amounts of income, right? But those are one things that I'll do here and there. But the fundamental consistency of it all is you've got to have those fundamentals in your business because those are the things that keep you in business long term. And that's what I want you to create is a long-term success because nothing's short, nothing's quick. And when you work to get to a certain level, you got to keep on working to even just to maintain that. And that's good because now you're developing, it's a lot easier to maintain that level.